That was funny, right? Yeah. So let's get into this. I think we can all agree that we're just different. Okay. So take the time to learn the other person, and there's gonna be a lot of things you just have to accept. Like you can't. I know you can't comprehend it all the way, but you just have to say it is what it is. After all, there's value I'm getting from engaging this man, this woman. Uh, Let me focus on the value I'm getting so I can get more. Tọmọdé bá dúpẹ́ orí àná, á rí mi gbà. You know? So instead of arguing, but you should be like men too. Why are you so masculine? But really, what you're asking her to be is masculine because you're making her feel safe and insecure. The more you ask those questions, she becomes more masculine. What do you bring to the table? Like, now she has to think what she brings to the table. Clap for yourself. You've made her masculine. But now she has to put a fence up. Somebody said, oh, there are even women saying this. There's nothing really wrong with that question. When she asks questions like, yeah, you're right. There's nothing wrong with the question.
Well, you're right.
The only problem is that you are completely disengaged from the feelings you're creating, the vibe you're creating when you put yourself on that kind of edge, right? It's not really the question. It's how you ask the question. It's not even the question. It's about how you get the information you're looking for. What exactly is the outcome you're looking for with that question? Are there better ways you can get those value without putting yourselves on the edge, right? Put yourself in a position where the red flag can start flying all over the place, right? And you know yourself, you will capture the red flag when you see it. But you're not able to say, you know what? Maybe I helped create that. Oh no, but people should just be happy. But I said, no, we are social beings and we influence each other. That's just the fact of the matter, okay? Anyway, this video was shared by Dada Freeze. Right now, we're going to talk about, let me see if I can share the topic. We're going to talk about 3 things that a man must know before marriage. You might say, hey, but this is for men. No, this is not just for men. Okay, this is not just for men. I'm going to play back a video by the lead attorney. It's a guy on YouTube that talks a lot. It was a 20. He can't wait to tell us that. He said every chance he gets, he has to tell us that he's a 20 years old divorce attorney. Okay, we've heard, but shout out to TLA. I appreciate that he does that because I need to learn how to do that actually. You need to spell out every single chance you get, whatever your accolades are. Like for example, I need to talk about how I am a 4 times author, right? I don't say it enough, right? So some people, he's very good at that, But excuse me, right? So the lead attorney is a guy who tends to talk about divorce, marriage, and stuff like that, and he reviews legal stuff online as well. So shout out to the lead attorney. I'm going to respond to a video in a minute here, but this is another divorce lawyer on the screen that was shared by Daddy Freeze, and this is to help him with his point that people should not get married at in their 20s. Okay, so you need to be careful with taking marriage relationship advice directly or indirectly from divorce attorneys. Okay, you need to be very careful with it. Okay, I don't know this white lady. I don't know lead attorney personally either, but I've listened to him long enough. I've been on his show. As a matter of fact, one of the first viral moments I had on this platform was via his show. But I've listened to him long enough that I know that he's well balanced. But his shows are mainly focused on the worst case scenario of marriage. Okay? So just like I tell you to be careful with listening to red flag, red flag. Of course you should know red flags, of course. Right? But if that's all you listen to, you need to be careful. Because you're probably going to attract what you fear the most. Okay? All right? It's just how life works, okay? You're going to attract what you fear the most. And because I know that you will do Kerewa anyway, man or woman, yes, you will. Okay, stop the cap. All right, stop the cap. You will, right?
Stop the cap.
Uh, you need to learn how this works, or in an holistic way. Okay, the sweet spot is somewhere in between, in the middle. It's not on the extremes. Okay, what divorce attorneys will speak from worst case scenario all the time. It's just what it is. Why? Because that's all they've seen. Especially somebody that's practiced 20 years divorce attorney is seeing the worst of them. That's what ends up in the court of law, right? For obvious reasons, right? Now, is there any benefit to learning what the worst scenarios are? Yeah, of course. I think it's the obvious. You already know. That's why you keep gravitating towards it. But you also tend to not pay attention to the downside of listening to just stuff like that all the time. Especially if you're a man or a woman of certain experiences. Naturally, you want to protect yourself from falling in the same hole again in the future. I get it. But marriage and long-term relationships, there's no way around it. It's always going to be a move of faith. Yes, literally, you put a blindfold on and you walk right into it. I'm sorry. You want me to tell you, right? That's just the reality. And remember, I told you, you're going to carry what anyway.
Cap.
You're going to do it with somebody, and you're going to end up with a child with another human being, and you will drag yourself through the mud if you're not well prepared for the other extreme end of this, or at least the middle part of it, the healthy part of it. Because there's no extremes that work with this. Okay? So when divorce attorneys, when they give their indirect advice, they're very quick to also give you the disclaimers. They're not giving you legal advice, but then they're talking to thousands upon thousands of people online that are wholeheartedly listening to them religiously, okay? But they're not they don't really give relationship advice. Yeah, right.
Stop the cap.
Yes. All right. I am not giving legal advice, but I do give relationship advice. But they are advice. They're just my own opinions off of my own experiences. Okay? Purely my own experiences. And I always admonish you, encourage you to process it. Don't turn anything I say into religion. Because you go collect. Okay? Because how you apply to every situation is different. There are principles. I keep telling you, stop saying there are no principles. But there are principles, but the application is unique from story, from person to person, from individual to individuals. Okay? So it's very, very important to pay attention. So Daddy Freeze had that talking point. We covered it here some weeks ago, where he said no one should be getting married in their 20s. So we have this divorce attorney, okay, who came and said, this is what she said.
I've been a divorce lawyer for 40 years.
All right, so remember, they can't wait to tell you how long they've been a divorce attorney. She does look like she's been a divorce attorney for 80 years. No disrespect, okay? All right, but like I said, is she going to give us an advice that's valuable? I think so. Holistically, no, I don't think so. I think she's going to come from the end of the worst case scenario. And that's not necessarily a good thing. It depends on where you're coming from and your particular story. Let's keep going.
And here's why it is a bad idea to get married in your teens and your 20s.
In your teens, I agree with her. In your teens, it's like, why? In your teens, it's like, why? Why would you want to get married in your teens, right? I get that. You have time to learn how to be an adult. You have a few years, 5 years to learn how to be an adult, somewhere at about that, right? But she said not in the 20s either. She's basically saying you need 12 years to learn how to be an adult based on most society standard. So that what? Let's see. Because again, we don't want to just take our advice and say it doesn't work without seeing where she's going with that, Timiladi says relationship is a journey of faith. Yes. 100% of the time. There's no guarantee. Okay, and Chiye says this Kerewa matter is very strong, oh. So there's no real way to avoid it, right? Yeah, she looks like she's been a divorce attorney for 80 years. I'll give that to her. That doesn't mean she's going to say anything that makes sense in a holistic way. But let's see. She already said, don't get married in your teens. The 20s part doesn't make any sense. But let's see. Maybe Ashaju Elede, I am. Maybe I should wait. Let's wait.
You were at 18 or 20 is not the same person you're going to be at 30. You don't have financial stability. You don't have a career. You don't know where you're going. There's
All right, so TLA will say this a lot too. The person you are 18 or 20 is not the person you're going to be when you're 30. Is this a strong enough position to stay unmarried until that point? I don't think so. All right? That point is very, very weak. The person you are at 30 is not the person you're going to be at 45 either. The person you are at 45 is not the person you're going to be at 60 either. So that point is destroyed instantly, right? Now, granted, at 18, 19, 20, you are really, you just don't know nothing about life. I get that, okay? But whatever you don't know about marriage at 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, there's a good chance you're not going to know it about marriage outside of marriage, okay? Ever. Okay. As a matter of fact, it's going to get worse. As a matter of fact, in terms with respect to marriage, you're going to get dumber with time. Why? Because you have low tolerance. There's no reason why you should do life with a person where you have to compromise. It makes no sense. Selfless? No, I'm comfortable being selfish. Like, what do you mean? It's not something you say with your mouth either. It's just a reality. Because you're comfortable being an adult at 34, 35, 36. If a man is not well secured in himself and you're a lady, you're not going to tolerate nonsense, right? If a woman comes into your life at the age of 35 and she shit tests you a little bit, you're going to be like, I don't have to deal with this shit, right? I don't have to deal with this, right? Naturally. And by the way, you've gained so much experience, most of them being negative, because if they were not, you will be with somebody. Most of them being negative. Somebody said, no, sometimes you just separate amicably because you just see that it's not going to work out.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap. Now break fast. Last. That's what it was. If it was that good, you will stay in it. And your natural human brain is probably focused on the negative about what had happened. Okay, let's keep going.
so many question marks and you haven't developed into who you are. You're just trying to figure things out.
You're always developing into who you are. Okay. Now, there are other things that also tends to deteriorate for both men and women. I know they're very quick to call out the biological clock for women. Well, as a man, okay, if you're 40, 45, 50 and you've never been married, there's a reason. Onidi, there is a but. You get it? Okay? That's not an indictment. It's something you should pay attention to. Because if you're hot in the marketplace, somebody would have attempted to elope you away, whisk you away, and marry you out of your own consent. I'm just kidding. My point is that you won't be in the market like that. Random willy-nilly. There's a reason. Okay? So there's a good chance that I'm already right. You've had a few experiences, relationships, where you've served breakfast or somebody served you breakfast. But you are capping big time now. And there's no need for it. There's no need for it. You're a woman, a man of a certain age. You can face real life as it is and be a little bit more intentional. Say, hey, maybe there's something I can learn. If whatever you haven't learned at the age of 27, outside of marriage, you will never learn it outside of marriage. You have to be inside. That's going to force your growth. And yes, marriage is a journey. Just like Daniel said earlier, it's a journey. It's not a place where you go where you have to be perfect. That's where these professionals are coming from. They are coming from a place of everything has to be perfectly aligned. Kole work, it doesn't exist. I don't think they mean to do that. But maybe I'm speaking for them. I shouldn't be speaking for them. But it's only natural that if all you've seen for the last 20, 40, 80 years is all these negative things that happen to marriage, it's only natural that you're helping people to protect themselves. But the way the people interpret that is another ball game entirely, right? So don't marry in your teens. I got it. I complete that. Your teens it's like, no, that's like 2 years of being an adult. Could make sense. She's absolutely correct about that. In your first half of your 20, I personally believe there's no rules to this. This is just my personal opinion. My personal belief that first 5 years in your 20s is when you are learning how to be an adult. It's called adulting. There's too many people adulting in their 30s and 40s. Like, come on. You've had a whole two times, decades over of adulting. When are you going to finish adulting, I beg? Okay.
A divorce lawyer for 40 years, and here's why it is a bad idea to. I've been a divorce.
Anytime somebody says I've been a divorce lawyer for 20, 40, 50 years, so don't listen to me, but listen anyway. Be guided. Okay? Be guided. They have some values they can bring, but oftentimes they are mostly coming from a worst case scenario. And if you start to consume that, overly consume that, you're going to attract what you fear the most. And sometimes you could just be afraid and stay away from the whole thing too. And that's not really what you want, but you end up being like that because what you see red flags everywhere. Okay? But I think we should cover TLA, the lead attorney. I think it's going to bring some value. Actually. TLA is going to, let me see, first of all, Chinya says 25 and up should be fine. Yes. Because at the point of 25, you're not going to suddenly find a husband or wife, right? The process starts. What I'm saying is that if you find a potential husband at 25, if you're shying away from it, there's a problem. You are afraid. You're operating out of fear. Okay? Sometimes it could be maybe you're a guy, you're a fine boy, you attract all kind of women and you think another one will come. Maybe you're wrong too. Okay? If you're a woman, if you find a potential husband who is trying to make you a wife at 25, 26, 27, and you're like, but I'm in medical school, you can chew gum and walk out at the same time. Okay, so completely
stop the cap.
Okay, now if you're in Nigeria, like Bro Patrick was saying, there's ASU and all this kind of stuff, and you just can't afford it. I can understand that completely. As a matter of fact, recently, shout out to Bro Patrick because he mentioned that, and recently I encountered a client who actually mentioned that, the reason why, because I was stuck in school for so long. Right? Now, men can get away with that for a little bit, but not really. Okay? They like to tell themselves they get away with it, but not really. Okay? Time is nobody's mate. Okay? Now, time is not running anywhere. If this is just circumstantial, you're waiting for God's time. But if you're using your own hands to push good things away, I just want you to maybe be aware of that. Because you think you will learn everything there is to learn. There's no such thing, okay? In life, you're always learning. That's the space you should be anyway. Either you're in or out of marriage. You should always be in that space regardless of always learning, being a perpetual student of life. That's really all you have to worry about. But the idea that you must learn everything there must to learn before, yeah, I think it's a losing battle, and you don't have to listen to what I say. Just look around you. Look at the results that people are creating. Okay? The dating scene is a cesspool. It's very nasty. Okay? Relationships are all in the poto. Marriages are in the poto. Okay? Because people have unrealistic expectations and pride. Okay? I must be. Take yourself off that pedestal. Remain a perpetual student of life, and you'll become a hot commodity. You won't be able to stay in the market for that much longer. Okay? So let's do that. Let's see. Shout out to Clementina. Good to see you. All right, so let's go to this TLA video finally, last but not least. And let me show the right credit on the screen first. Then we'll take you from there.